everybody, so it's Sam Lewis back again for our Sam's Diamonds See Positive event. We have our next speaker with us today, and this is Jo Howarth. Jo Howarth has worked with Sam's Diamonds for a good few years now. She's become a great friend, so I had to ask her to come and take part, and obviously, as usual, not even a pause or hesitation, I'm in, so thank you very much for that. So let me tell you a little bit about Jo. So Jo is a director of happiness. How cool is that for a title? A director of happiness. So Jo is an advanced hypnotherapist with psychology degree and a diploma in mindfulness. She has been helping people to improve their mental health and outlook on their life for many years now. She has experienced abusive relationships, crises, bereavement, and struggled with high levels of stress and anxiety in work and in her personal life. Everything changed when she was given help by people who trained her in tools and techniques to make her life better. Today, she is a mum, a wife, an author, an inspirational speaker. She is a real person who feels real emotions, but she has learned how to take care of herself. She now helps others to take care of themselves by creating the Happiness Club. This is an online support service for mental health and well-being. So join us as we find out more about the club and how we can best support ourselves with the help of the wonderful Jo Howarth. Over to you, Jo.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. That was an intro and a half. Thank you, Sam. So yeah, I'm Jo Howarth. As Sam very rightly says, by trade, I'm an advanced hypnotherapist and a mindfulness practitioner. And I started my career as that, oh my goodness, about 8 or 9 years ago. And I chose that as a career because they were the practices that brought me out the other side of my own anxiety and stress. And so it was a no-brainer for me to retrain in those things and to help people as much as I could. I started out as a jobbing hypnotherapist, and a lot of my one-to-one clients would say things to me like, okay, so at the end of a session, they'd say, okay, so I'm just going to need you to come home with me now. And if you could, I just kind of need you to sit on my shoulder or sit in my pocket so that while I'm dealing with whatever I'm dealing with, you can just whisper things into my ear about what I need to do. Bless them. But I also remembered that feeling like that myself from when I very first had therapy, which was in my 20s, which was, like a couple of weeks ago. And I remember feeling that way myself, that I had this hour and a half with this amazing person who helped me see the world in a clearer way, who helped me get rid of some of the rubbish that was going on in here, helped me to feel better about myself and what I was doing and what I was facing. And then I would have to go out into the big wide world all by myself for an entire week and survive somehow until I got that hour and a half again the following week. And so when I became a therapist, then I was seeing it from the other side, from being the therapist and having my clients say to me the things I used to say to my therapist. And so that was part of the thinking behind the Happiness Club. So the Happiness Club is an online support service for your mental health and well-being. We send our members, so we have our own app because we're very awfully grown up these days. We started out on Facebook. We now have our own app. Which works a bit like a Facebook feed. So every morning we release what we call the daily strategy, which is a little video, 2 or 3 minute video, a piece of writing for people. It's a strategy for people to use that day, to implement that day, to help them change what's going on in here, to help them look after what's going on in here and what's going on in here. We run a live monthly webinar on a variety of topics. You name a topic, literally, we've done a webinar on it. Everything from confidence to anxiety to mindfulness to imposter syndrome to dealing with difficult relationships to, honestly, you name the topic, we've probably covered it. Sleep, journaling, literally everything. We go out to the members every month and ask them what they want us to talk about. We also run a live meditation every month, which I started in the first lockdown. During the first lockdown, I ditched the monthly webinar and I said to the members, right, we're going to do a live meditation every week because they needed to have that connection. And then as we started to come out of lockdown, I said, okay, well, we'll go back to the monthly webinar now. And I got a flurry of messages from members going, no, because we still need a meditation. So now we do a webinar and a meditation every month because I'm a soft touch. But there you go. And then members get 24/7 access to a qualified counsellor or therapist, of which I'm just one. We have a team of therapists that work with us for ad hoc in the moment support and advice, because you're probably very well aware, but your mental health doesn't go, oh, look, it's 6 o'clock on Friday, so I can't bother until Monday now, right? It does what it does when it does it. So we've literally talked people through panic attacks at 10 o'clock on a Sunday evening via Messenger. We talk people through relationship issues via WhatsApp at 6 o'clock in the morning, and work stress at 2 o'clock in the afternoon via email or the phone. Whatever method of communication they prefer, they can use to get in touch with us at the moment that that thing is happening, or at the moment that they're feeling most overwhelmed by that thing. So that's what the club is and why the club came about. It was really my response to my one-to-one clients wanting to put me in their pocket and take me home, and me wanting to stay in my own house with my own family. And I wanted to find a way to still help them in between those sessions. Since then, obviously, the club actually will be 6 on Thursday. That's just occurred to me. And we've grown fairly substantially since then. So we now have 300 members worldwide. We talk to corporates, that's individual members. We talk to corporates about signing all their people up as well, so that they know they're not just ticking a box, they're actually doing something to support the mental health of their people effectively. So that's me, and that's the club. And I want to start today by talking to you about wellies. So I want you to imagine that you have just bought yourself a brand spanking new, shiny, beautiful pair of Wellington boots. Okay. Those boots that you put on to go and splash in puddles. You've just bought yourself a new pair of those. They're beautiful and shiny. They might be your favorite color, red or blue or yellow or green. They might have patterns or stripes on. I want a pair with flowers on. I keep saying that I'm not actually buying myself a pair with flowers on, but anyway. Imagine that lovely pair of wellies, and you bring them home and you decide now you've got those wellies, you might as well go for a walk across the field. So you pull those wellies on and you go off tramping across the fields. And obviously we live in the UK, so obviously, even though it's a beautifully sunny day today, it's been raining. So as you walk across the field, you get mud on those wellies, and you come home and you put those muddy wellies by the back door and you carry on with your day. And the next day you decide you're going to do some gardening. So you pull those wellies on again and you go out into the garden, you do some digging and some weeding, and you get more dirt and more mud on your wellies, and you put them by the back door and you carry on with your day. And the next day you're on a health kick now, you decide you're going to go for another walk across those fields. So you pull those wellies on and off you go across the fields, getting more mud, more mud, more mud. And at the end of the week, you look at those wellies sitting by your back door and realize that they are absolutely covered in mud. You can't even see what color they are. They're not shiny or beautiful or brand spanking new anymore. All you can see is the mud. You can't see the flowers or the patterns or the color, just mud. And so you decide to take those wellies outside and wash them. So you take them, you get the hose pipe and you wash, and some of that mud comes off quickly and easily. Some of it needs a bit of scrubbing. Some of it needs a lot of scrubbing because it's been on there since day one and it's dried in now. But eventually you wash enough of that mud off, and underneath there are your beautiful brand spanking new shiny wellies again. Why on earth am I talking to you about wellies? Because I believe that we're the same. I believe that we come into this world as pure, beautiful, brand spanking new, shiny, gorgeous energy. And what we do as we walk through life, we experience things. People do things, people say things, we do things, we say things, and we get some mud stuck on that energy. And the more we experience, the more we walk through life, the more mud gets stuck on top of that energy. And the bit that breaks my heart is that we start to believe that we're the mud, that muddy thinking, that muddy behavior, that muddy conditioning, programming that we've learned as a child, that we carry through life with us. We start to believe that that is who we actually are, and we're not. We're the wellies underneath. I always say when I do this talk that I keep meaning to start a hashtag we are the wellies, hashtag we are not the mud. I say it every time and I've still not done it. But so I wanted to start the talk with that story today because I want you to know that. I want you to realize, I want you to remember, if you can, that you are not the mud. You are the wellies underneath that mud. You are the pure, positive, beautiful, shiny, gorgeous new energy that came into this world. That's who you truly are. The rest is just mud. And you can wash that mud off. Not in exactly the same way as you would off your wellies, although if you want to go outside and hose yourself down with a hose pipe, there is no judgment here. But there are a million different ways that you can start washing that mud off. And some of that mud will come off really easily. Some of it will need a bit of scrubbing. Some of it will need a lot of scrubbing because it's been there a long time. But you can absolutely wash that mud off. That's what I've spent the last however many years of my life doing for myself, washing that mud off, chipping it. That's what the Happiness Club does on a daily basis. It helps people chip away at that mud and get a bit more off and a bit more off so that you can start seeing who you really are underneath. So I want you to know that. I want you to know that you're the wellies, you're not the mud, and that it's absolutely possible for you to wash that mud off. That you don't have to live the way that you're living, anything that you're unhappy with, anything that you're not over the moon about, you don't have to stay that way. It's utterly possible to wash that mud off. I speak from training, but also from experience. And speaking about training, I wanted to tell you a story that really for me just encapsulates, if you like, what happens to us all how we get that mud, how that happens to us. So the Howarth family, I have my husband Trev, who's sitting over there with his headphones on because he's heard this talk about a gazillion times since we've all been working from home, bless him. I have two daughters as well, and one of our favorite things as a family is to watch either Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent. We love those shows. We really love the variety of them and watching the acts and just love it. And a couple of years ago we were cuddled up on the sofa watching America's Got Talent, and the act that came on was a dog act. Now, I'm not a massive fan of dog acts. They don't really, I love dogs, but the dog acts don't really do anything for me. But this dog act was the most sublime act I have ever seen. The trainer and the dog were so in sync. They were absolutely so together. It was just beautiful to watch. And about halfway through the act, my husband, Trev, said, "Now there is a well-trained dog." And I agreed with him. I said, "Yeah, it really is, isn't it?" And we carried on watching, but my brain caught hold of that comment and did what I call a Jo tangent, went off into the world of Jo, thinking about that comment. And I thought, you know what, that's really true. It's such a well-trained dog. And I thought about how that dog was a puppy once, and that since it was a puppy, since it was tiny, it had been with that owner. And that owner had taught it how to do the tricks and things that they were now doing on the stage. And he had taught it by giving it rewards, by giving it positive rewards, and by giving it negative feedback when it didn't do the things he wanted it to do. And the dog, in its utter adoration of its owner and in its wanting to please and its wanting to be loved, responded to that negative feedback and those positive rewards, and learned to do the things that the trainer wanted him to do in the way that the trainer wanted him to do it, because then he got his reward and then he got his love. And I marveled at that entire process. And then I realized that we're exactly the same, that that's exactly what happens to us. When we are diddy, when we're tiny, the grown-ups around us, with the absolute best of intentions, train us in the same way as we would train a dog. with positive rewards and negative feedback. We do something that's not allowed, that's not right, we get told off for it, we get punished for it. If we do things the right way, if we do them the way that grown-up wants us to do them, then we get the positive rewards. And us, as the little diddy ones, us in our absolute adoration of whoever that grown-up is, because when you're small, the grown-ups that are looking after you are gods. But our absolute adoration of that person, and in our wanting to be loved and in our wanting to please, we respond to that training. We respond to those positive rewards and that negative feedback. And we grow and we learn how to be according to what we've been trained and conditioned and programmed to be by those grown-ups. All of which means that we've learned how to be who we are. I've learned how to be who I am. You've learned how to be who you are by every single one of the experiences that you've experienced in your life to this point. Which means if we've learned it, we can unlearn it and we can learn something new, which again is something that I help people to do and something that I spend a lot of time doing for myself. Again, I spent a lot of my life up until I started having therapy, just thinking that that's just who I am. That's just how it is. It's just what life is. I didn't even really think I wasn't really aware that there was anything I could do to change what was happening to me, to change how I felt about what was happening to me, to change my thinking. When I first had therapy, the very first question my therapist asked me, he looked at me and he said, "So tell me, Jo, what's wrong with you?" Well, I took a deep breath and I was like, right, okay, here we go. Started me to go on, and I started reeling off all these things that were wrong with me. And after I'd said about 3 or 4 things, he held his hand up and he said, can I answer the question for you? Oh God, he knows already. How do you know? I've known him 10 minutes. I was like, okay. And he said, nothing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You've just learnt some beliefs that aren't doing you any favors, and we can sort those out. And the relief that flooded through my body, because up to that point, I was 25 years old and I genuinely felt like I was wrong. I felt like I was broken. There was something wrong with me. There'd always been something wrong with me. I didn't know what it was. I just knew there was something wrong with me. And the relief that flooded through me that actually, no, I wasn't broken. There was nothing to fix. I just needed to sort some beliefs out, and he was going to help me do that. Huge. So please remember that you are the wellies, you are not the mud. And you have learned how to be who and how you are, which means you can learn how to be something else if you want to. You don't have to walk through life on autopilot. You don't have to walk through life accepting whatever it throws at you. You can absolutely change anything and everything that you want to change. It's not always easy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not always easy, but it is always possible. And one of the ways that we learn how to change those things is by paying attention to our emotions. We were given this unbelievable gift of emotion. And our emotions aren't just there for us. This sounds silly, bear with me. They're not just there for us to feel, right? They are there to tell us something. Every single one of our emotions has something to tell us. It has a message for us, which when they are emotions like love and joy and bliss and happiness, we go, yes, please. Thank you very much. I like feeling like this. I will allow myself to feel like this. When those more difficult emotions come along, like anxiety, stress, worry, frustration, anger, panic, hurt, pain, whatever you want to call it, whichever one you're experiencing, when those more challenging emotions come along, what we do as human beings is go, oh, no, I don't want to feel you. So I'm going to just pretend I can't. I'm going to just not do it. I don't want to, so I'm not gonna, because it feels horrible. I used to call emotions positive and negative. I used to talk about positive emotions and negative emotions. And I stopped doing that probably a couple of years ago. That doesn't slip out very often anymore, because I realized that there's no such thing as a negative emotion. All of your emotions are there to help you. All of them are there to tell you something. You just have to listen sometimes, which can be really hard. But if I give you another, you may have already got the idea that I like analogies and I like stories. If I give you another story to hold on to, right? I want you to imagine that you have decided that you are going to spend the day reclining on the sofa and doing absolutely flop all, right? Just relaxing. And so you get your blankets and your drinks and your snacks and your remote control and you're ready for Netflix and hurrah, right? And you lie on the sofa and you just chill out. And after you've been lying there for about an hour, the postman comes to your door because he's got a parcel to deliver. And so he knocks on your door. But you know what? You're just so lovely and relaxed and beautiful on the sofa. You can't be bothered to get up. So you just don't get up. So the postman knocks a bit louder on your door. But you know what? It's just too lovely lying here. I don't want to. I'll just pretend I didn't hear it. will just stay here, right? So then the postman tries the doorbell. Well, now actually, do you know what? Now you're actually disturbing my peace now. So I am going to get off the sofa, but I'm going to go into the back of the house where I can't hear the doorbell quite so well. I'm just going to sit and I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear it. I'm just going to get away from it. Well, so now the postman takes his finger and he puts it on the doorbell and he leaves it there for 5 minutes. Well, now I'm not, but you know, that's not on actually. That's really just disturbing me. I'm not even going to answer the door to you now because because why would I? Yeah, right. So eventually the postman gives up and goes home. Woohoo! You won against the postman. But guess what? He's going to come back tomorrow because he has a parcel to deliver. It's not a parcel he can leave on your doorstep. That's his job. He's not trying to annoy you or frustrate you or make you angry or get up off the sofa. He's just trying to do his job. And your emotions are exactly the same. And we respond in exactly the same way. When those difficult, challenging emotions come along, we do one of three things. We pretend we can't see them. We pretend they're not there. We try to ignore them, right? Or we try and run away from them. What happens when you run away from something? Generally, it chases you, right? We run away from them. We try to get away from them. Or we go, no, I do not want to feel you. Go away. You are not welcome. What you're doing in any one of those three reactions is not allowing that emotion to deliver its message. You are not allowing it to do the job that it needs to do. And so what will it do? What did the postman do? He came back again. It will keep coming back and knocking on your door and ringing your doorbell until you answer the door and say, come on then, what are you trying to tell me? When I feel something, because I do still feel things, I used to experience severe anxiety on a daily basis. I never ever say that I don't experience anxiety anymore, because anxiety it's an emotion, it's a necessary emotion, it's an emergency emotion. Anxiety's job is to warn you that you're in danger. So if anxiety wasn't there, I'd never know if I was in danger. What happens when you experience it severely is that program has gone into overdrive. That's all. And so yes, I do still experience little snippets of anxiety if my subconscious mind thinks that for whatever reason I'm in some kind of danger. So if I experience that, what I do is I sit down in a comfy chair, I close my eyes, and I take a couple of slow, deep breaths, and I imagine myself in I have to admit, my imaginary sitting room is about 1,000 times more luxurious than my actual sitting room. But I imagine myself in this luxurious sitting room where there's a coffee table in the middle. And I sit on one side of the coffee table. There's a pot of tea and 2 cups. There might even be cake because there's no calories, because this is in my head. And I imagine anxiety, the anxious me, sitting on the other side of that coffee table. And I pour us a cup of tea and we have a slice of cake. And I say to my anxiety, why are you here? What do I need to know? And then I shush and I listen for the answer. because I have all the answers inside me. I have absolutely no doubt of that. And you have all the answers inside you. I have absolutely no doubt of that either. And I listen to why my anxiety is there, what it needs to tell me. If it needs to be reassured that actually that thing that it thinks is putting me in danger, actually it isn't. I'm perfectly safe. I can reassure it. And do you know what? As soon as I acknowledge it, as soon as I reassure it, as soon as I say, well, do you know what? I actually need to do something about that. So I'll do that, and then I'll be safe, and then you don't need to be here anymore. That anxiety will start to go, because it's delivered its message. It's told me what it needs to tell me. It's told me what I need to know. Whereas what I used to do before is that I don't want to, because you feel horrible and I don't want to feel you. I liken it to one of the things we do at the Happiness Club is to we run a schools program, because this is all very selfish work of mine, by the way, because I wish that someone had come into my school when I was 5 and taught me the things that we teach kids now, because it would have helped me unbelievably and immensely. But we run a 4-week schools program, and when I stand in front of a classroom of 35 6-year-olds and I ask them a question, you can bet your bottom dollar most of the class will put their hand up. And obviously I don't have the time in that session to speak to every single child that's put their hand up, but there is always at least one child. They're normally sitting at the back, but anyway, there's always at least one child who's got their hand up. And if I don't pick them, their hand goes up further. And if I don't pick them, their hand goes up further. And if I don't pick them, they start like rising off the floor, like they've got a hold of a balloon and it's pulling them up. And they start doing this with the hand, like waving as if, have you seen? No, I don't know if you haven't. Have you seen me? Have you seen? Because I've got my hand up. Can you see? Can you see? And you always end up picking that child, because they look like they're about to explode if you don't pick them, so that they can give you their answer. And that always makes me think about emotions. That's what they just will keep. Your emotions will keep putting their hand up. They'll keep going, no, I don't think you've seen me. Have you not seen me? Can you see me? Can you see me over here? Because I'm not sure, because you're not paying me any attention. See? So we need to stop and listen to our emotions, to what they're telling us. It can be scary, and it cannot be very pretty, and it can be difficult. But that, again, is another reason why the Happiness Club exists, because that's what we do. We hold people's hands while they go through that journey. Because I'll tell you what, the only way through something is through it. The only way to come out the other side of something is to go through it. And if you're not going through it, you're not going to come out the other side of it. It really is that simple. There's a very famous children's book, which I read to my kids when they were tiny, about a gazillion times, called We're Going on a Bear Hunt. And I only realized last year, having read it so many times, I only realized that that book is about emotions. Because it says, so these kids go on this bear hunt, and they tramp off across the field to find a bear, and they come up against all these obstacles. They come up against a forest and a storm and a swamp, and every time they come up to one, the book says, so that there's the forest, it says you can't go over it, can't go under it, can't go round it, you have to go through it. Come up to the swamp, you can't go over it, can't go under it, can't go round it, you have to go through it. And I literally, when I was reading it to my kids, had no idea what I was reading to them. But I realized last year when I was talking to them, I went, oh my God, that's about emotions. You can't go over them. You can't go under them. You can't go round them. You have to go through them. It's the only way through them is through them. I know that sounds really silly, but that's what we do. And that's what we help people to do, is to walk through whatever they're facing, so that they don't have to do it alone, because I had help. So why shouldn't everyone else? So I hope all of that helps so far. What I'd like to do before I go is teach you a couple of my absolute favorite techniques, so you have something practical to take away with you. So I mentioned before that part of what I am is a mindfulness practitioner. And mindfulness for me has become a way of life. It's my lifestyle. It's a practice that a lot of people pick up and put down and do a bit, but not really. For me, for mindfulness to have that impact on your life, and it had an enormous impact on my life, it needs to become part of how you live your life. And that doesn't mean that you have to meditate for 60 years every day, because I don't have time to do that, and I'm sure you don't either. But there are some really simple ways that you can start integrating mindfulness practice into your life that literally take minutes to do every day, but will have the most enormous impact. The essence of mindfulness, the absolute essence, the key to mindfulness, is to be in the present moment. That's what mindfulness asks us to do, to root ourselves in this moment. This one right here, this moment, this one. Because I'll tell you a secret, this moment is all we've got. Right now is all any of us have actually got. And it's gone already. And that moment's gone, and that moment's gone, and that moment's gone, and that moment's gone. But instead of rooting ourselves in the present, what we do as human beings is we tend to spend our time living in the past, where whatever rubbish might have happened, and we pick that past up and we bring it into our present, and we allow it to inform our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors here and now. But it doesn't belong here and now. It belongs over there, because it's done, it's gone, it's happened, it's past. But we keep it alive with our thinking and our conditioning by bringing it into the present. And if we're not living in the past, we're fretting about the future. What might be, what could be, what might happen, what might not happen. Something happens, and within 5 minutes, you've catastrophized to the nth degree, and the whole world's ended. And actually, the only place that anything's happened is in here. My beautiful youngest daughter, when she was about 1, we discovered that she was allergic to everything in the world. It's not even an exaggeration. She was allergic to dairy, to eggs, to strawberries, to chickpeas, to peanuts, literally everything you can think of, especially the stuff that puts fat on a child, bless her, she was allergic to. So we spent a lot of time between the ages of 1 and 5 up at Wiston Hospital, which is our local hospital, getting poked and prodded and having blood tests done to see if she'd grown out of any of these allergies. Because most kids grow out of them by the time they're 5. And indeed, by the time she was 5, she had grown out of every single one, apart from the peanuts. And the nurse at our local hospital said to us, we don't really deal with peanut allergies here. So if you want to pursue that one, you're going to have to go back to your GP, get a referral to Alder Hey. And I said to my husband, do you know what? Should we just be allergic to peanuts? Because bless her cottons, she's had more blood tests in her 5 years than I've had in my entire life. She's been poked and prodded. Let's just be allergic to peanuts for now. We don't buy them anyway. And if she wants to find out if she's still allergic, she can ask whenever she's ready. And just before she was 7, she said to me, Mummy, I'd like to find out if I'm still allergic to peanuts, please. She's very polite. And I said, okay, sweetheart. And we went back to the doctor and we got our referral. We waited about 6 months for our appointment at Alder Hey. And so just after her 7th birthday, we went along and the consultant looked at her notes and said, right, okay, yes, peanuts, lovely, right. Well, the only way to do this is to do some tests. And the first test they did was to put lots of drops of different nut and seed oils down her arm and leave her for 15 minutes to see what happened. And after 15 minutes, we discovered that she's also allergic to sesame seeds. But the results for peanuts was inconclusive. It wasn't a clear yes or a no. And so the consultant said, right, okay, well, we're going to have to do some blood tests then. And at the word blood test, my girl went into absolute screaming habdabs. I want a blood test, Mummy, I really don't want a blood test. Let's just go home, it's fine, let's just go. Because she was so little, when she was tiny, they used to have to take the blood out of the back of her hands because they couldn't find a vein because there was just no fat on it, bless her. So for her, blood tests, massively painful things. So you're like, let's just go home, it's fine, I won't eat peanuts, it's fine, don't worry about it, bless her. And the consultant and I calmed her down and reminded her that she had initiated this entire thing. And she very bravely agreed to go through with the blood test. And so we went downstairs and we waited about half an hour, during which time she alternated between utter hysteria and complete calm. And then the nurse came out to get us, and she was gorgeous, and she put Gracie completely at her ease. And she took us through to her room, and she had this enormous chair in the corner that she called a throne. And my girl's a princess. And she sat in the throne, she rolled her sleeves and look at me, Mummy, I'm a princess. They're great, wonderful. And then the nurse said to her, right, sweetheart, for this next bit, you might want to bury your head in Mummy's shoulder or look away for a minute. As she turned around to get the needle. But she didn't give Gracie time to do either of those two things before she turned back round with the needle in her hand. Now, the needle itself probably only about that big, but it had the world's longest tube attached to it to catch the blood. So what my girl saw coming towards her was a needle the size of England. And she went into the screaming habdabs going, I don't want to, pulling her sleeves back down. Really, Mummy, let's just go home. It's fine. I promise I'll never buy peanuts. I won't touch them. Let's just go home, please. I really don't want to. Bless her cottons. And the nurse and I calmed her down again and reminded her again that this was her idea. And again, she very bravely agreed to go through with the blood test. And the needle went in and the blood was taken. And 2 minutes later, we were on our way. And on the way back to the car, she said to me, do you know what, Mummy? I said, what, baby? She said, didn't really hurt very much at all. Bless her. We'd been in the hospital for about an hour and a half. For at least an hour of that, she was in absolute hysterics because what she was doing was bringing her experiences from the past into that moment and allowing them to inform her thoughts, her feelings, and her behaviors. She was bringing her fear of what was about to happen into that moment and allowing it to inform her thoughts, her feelings, and her behaviors. I let her off because she was 7, but that's what we do. We bring the past and the future into the now where neither of them belong, and we allow them to affect us here, now, where none of that is happening. So how do you do that? How do you root yourself in this moment? I have a challenge for you. My challenge for you from this day forth is to every day, at least once a day, find somewhere comfy to sit. Set a timer on your phone or your watch or your tablet for 1 minute. Close your eyes, and for that 1 minute, I want you to focus your attention on every breath in and every breath out. Every breath in and every breath out. After 3 or 4 breaths, your mind is going to wander off into the, oh, well, I've got to do this stuff later. What haven't I done yet today? What did I do? When I had that conversation with that person and blah, 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 blah. When you notice that that's what's happened, just gently bring your focus back to your breath. And it will wander off again, and you gently, and every time it wanders off, you just gently bring it back to your breath. Just for 1 minute, okay? 1 minute. When you get used to doing it for 1 minute, do it for 2, then for 3, then for 4. When you get to 5 minutes, it is officially called meditation, and it is the most gorgeous way I have ever found of rooting myself in the here and now, in this moment, right now, where life is actually happening. Not the past, not the future, but right here. So 1 minute every day, start with that. Do multiple 1 minutes every day if you want to, but at least 1 minute every single day. I was going to say I'll be checking on you, but I won't. So there you go. So 1 minute every day. The last thing that I want to teach you today is my absolute favorite technique. If you've seen me talk to Sam before, I probably will have taught you this because I literally teach this to anyone that will listen to me talk for more than 5 minutes. Today, that's you. And it's my favorite technique of all time. This technique by itself changed my life about 9 years ago. It's called the GLAD exercise. And what you do is you sit down at the end of your day and you reflect back over that particular day. And the rules are, because there are always rules, that you have to find at least 5 things from that day to be glad about. I used to say grateful for. It works along the same lines as gratitude. But I have met so many people in my career who really struggle with gratitude, who actually have been dealt such a hard deck of cards that feeling grateful for something is just a step too far. but you can feel glad about something. I've had people come up to me after my talks and say, I have never been able to keep a gratitude journal, but I've been keeping my Glads journal for about 5 weeks, and it's changed the way I see the world. It's just got a lighter feel to it, a lighter vibration. It's easier to find something that you're glad about than you're grateful for. Not dissing gratitude in any way, it's awesome. But if you can't get there, it's really hard. So at least 5 things that you're glad about from that day. Again, the difference between the Glads and normal gratitude is that it's about that day. Just that day. That's the only thing you need to focus on, okay? And you'll have days where they absolutely trip off your tongue. So if you've got more than 5, keep going, keep going. Don't think Jo said 5, I can stop now. If you've got 10 or 20 or 50 or a million, say 10 or 20 or 50 or a million. Keep going, keep going, keep going, okay? The preference is to verbalize them, say them out loud, because they go in here deeper. You are thinking them, you are saying them, you are hearing them, you're using more of your faculties, they go in here deeper. If you feel a bit of a nana doing that by yourself, then get other people involved. Do it with the people you work with, do it with the people you socialize with, do it on a WhatsApp message with your friends at the end of the day. If you have children, please, 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 please do it with your children. It is the most beautiful thing you will teach them to do for themselves. If they are shorter than this, the things they say will melt your heart. If they're taller than this, not so much. But I have one about this height now, and the other one's fast approaching. So, but it's worth a try, I think. Still, I get the eye rolls quite a lot these days. Oh God, my eldest daughter called me Mrs. Hippie McHippieson the other day, which I quite actually considering changing my name to that. But anyway, So do it with other people because it removes the nana factor beautifully, okay? If that still doesn't work for you, the next best thing you can do is write them down, because again, you are thinking them, you're writing them, you're reading them as you're writing them. They're going in here deeper. They have more of an impact, okay? And as I say, you'll have days where they trip off your tongue, so keep going. And then you're going to have days where you struggle to get to 3. But I'm going to ask you to get to 5. Because what we're doing by getting to 5 is we're training this. We are training this brain to start looking this way. As human beings, we are absolutely wired to see and hold on to the negative rather than to see and hold on to the positive. And what this gorgeous exercise does is train your brain to start looking that way instead of that way. The other reason on those days where it's hard to get to 3 that you've got to get to 5 is because what getting to 5 does, just to get to 5, it makes you look at all the boring, mundane, ordinary, everyday, yawnable stuff that's in your life, that's been in your life for so long, you walk past it with blinkers on and pay it no attention whatsoever. It makes you look at that stuff and appreciate the hell out of it. Just to get to 5 things. I had a client a number of years ago, and I taught this to him, and he really struggled with the Glads, bless him. He came back for his next session after I taught them to him, and he said, I found it really hard to get to 5 every day. Bless him. He said, I got to 3 last night. He said, and I thought, I've got to get to 5 because I'm seeing Jo tomorrow. So, like I was going to tell him off. So he said, so I just said, I'm glad I had porridge for my breakfast. And I'm glad I've just had a cup of tea. They're rubbish ones, aren't they? And I said to him, no, they're brilliant. They're 2 of the best I've ever heard. Because where would you be without food? And where would you be without drink? Absolute fundamentals that keep your body alive, which is what we're after. And after he'd gone, I pondered for myself a bit further the process of making a cup of tea. So come with me on a journey to make a cup of tea. So you decide you want a cup of tea. You go into your kitchen and you open a cupboard, because you've got cupboards on the walls in your kitchen with doors that open and close that keep the things inside that cupboard safe. You open the cupboard and you take out a mug. a mug that someone else has made with their skill and talent and ability and sold to a shop that you've gone in with the money that you earn, doing whatever it is you do, and decided you like that mug enough to buy it and bring it home and put it in your cupboard with the door that opens and closes to keep it safe. You take that mug out and you put it on the side. And then you open another cupboard and you take out a box of tea bags, little squares or circles full of tea that someone else has grown and picked and harvested and packaged up into that square or circle, so that all you have to do is take it out the box and put it in that mug. And when you've done that, you pick your kettle up and you go over to the sink and you do that to the tap, and water comes out. Someone has arranged it so that all these pipes and things come into your house at this exact point, so that all you have to do is that, and fresh, clean, amazing, life-giving water comes out of that tap so that you can fill your kettle. And when your kettle's full, you do that again and the water stops, so your house doesn't flood. Brilliant. You take the kettle over and you plug it in and you press a button, and someone else has arranged it so that all these wires and things come into your house at this exact point, so that all you have to do is press a button and it makes the water hot. Not only does it make the water hot, makes it the perfect temperature to make yourself a cup of tea with. Not only does it make it the perfect temperature, it stops itself when it gets there, and it tells you that it's done it, so that all you have to do is pick that kettle up and pour that boiling hot water onto that mug, onto that tea bag, in that mug, to make yourself a drink that sustains your body and keeps you alive. It astounds me. Just that whole process is amazing, astounding, that we as human beings have that intelligence, ability, capability, innovation to make something so complicated, so simple, and then pay no attention to it whatsoever. We pay no attention to that at all. We just have a cup of tea. Let's have a cup of tea. When you play the GLAD exercise consistently and constantly, that is how you start to see the entire world around you. I absolutely promise it will blow your mind. This world blows my mind every single day without fail. The things we can do, the things we have on tap, the things we can create. Unbelievable. It is about being consistent and constant with it. It is about, that is the key, playing it consistently and constantly. It will blow your mind. I'm going to leave you with my favourite quote of all time. I've gone way over the time I told Sam I was going to yak for, but that's me. I said to her before we started, wind me up and I'll just keep going. I'm going to leave you with my favourite quote of all time, which is, life is not the way it's supposed to be. It is the way it is. The way you cope with it is what makes the difference. I very much hope I've taught you some ways to cope with it today. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. Sam, thank you so much for asking me to be part of this. If anyone has any questions, I am very happy to answer them.
Jo, that was absolutely amazing, and that cup of tea one gets me every time.
You must have heard it about 60,000 times though.
Do you know what though? It gets me just going to the sink to fill the kettle, and I go, oh, don't waste the water. There's people in Africa who need that water, and I turn it off and everything, and then I go and put the kettle on, and it's like, oh my God, switch. What happens? It is absolutely amazing, honestly. The way you tell a story and bring it round to your point, I'm like, yeah, that's all I've done through all of this. Yeah, and my teenager does that as well. Yeah. No, that's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. We've got fantastic Jo, thank you, from Lindsay Smith. She's put in the chat. I hope you've all enjoyed it, guys. Sarah Winstanley, thank you so much. How amazing is Jo at that? It is just make you feel good, happiness stuff, and you've given us strategies to take away with us. You've given us stories to remember, which helps you remember when it's in a story, so don't ever feel bad about telling stories. But yeah, thank you. Really appreciate you coming on and doing that.
Very welcome, my darling. If anyone has any questions, if like afterwards you think, oh God, I wish I'd asked that, please feel free to get in touch. Jo @thehappinessclub.co.uk. Just drop me an email. I'm very happy to come back to you with anything.
That's brilliant. You're an absolute star. We will be sending out all the links of all our speakers out to everybody who's registered as well. So you might get a little bit in a couple of days.
Cool.
But can't appreciate that anymore. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, my love. Take care. I hope the rest of it all goes well.
Oh, thank you, sweet. I'll speak to you soon.
Darling. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Not